I feel like too much. A lot of people, we end up simplifying just by trying to teach and by trying to learn. And it's like, oh, well, it's just major scale. It's this and it's this and it's just what I think it's cool the way you're approaching it. I feel like it's more. That's where that music comes from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what I think, at least. I mean, as
agree.
far as I can tell, from what I've been studying and listening to, and just I mean, you go down these rabbit holes, and I mean, I think that's when I had to write this paper for my master's stuff, and
Yeah.
we had to do this whole thing, and I was kind of upset that I had to write a paper for my jazz studies performance degree. I'm just like, okay, guys. So anyways, I ended up writing this paper, but I basically wrote it about that. About like basically, I think I titled like the ear versus the pen or something like
really?
that. I'll send it to you.
Oh, please do. Yeah.
And it's literally just about like how they teach jazz and how we learn jazz and how we teach it and how we talk about it and how they might have talked about. I wasn't around then, but like how they, as far as I can tell, how they talked about it. How how we talk about it now, how we teach it, how we have to teach it because of certain things, and that makes sense. I get it. You have to quantify it in some way in these school systems and whatever. That's fine. I get it. But at the end of the day, that's probably not how those guys did it. Like just the way that we discuss things, and I don't know. It's all about that and like the history of it, and it was just like a dive into that. Idea of
it sounds like you and I are very much on the same page.
It's because
to that.
It's because like you're saying, it's like there's a certain there's a certain philosophy once you start really trying to study this stuff and really see where it comes from, and I mean historically where it's come from is different than kind of how we talk about it now. You know what I mean? So it's like it's exactly what you're saying.
I think the doors have been opening more for discussion about what was really going on, and to be able to and I have to give props to Ken Burns because his documentary really kind of starts really opening the conversation. If you want to talk about the birth of jazz, you have to talk about slavery. You
without
have to
a
talk
doubt.
about Jim Crow.
Yeah.
You have to talk about all this.
I'm gonna send you this paper. You're gonna
really,
love it.
really dark, negative shit that this country was doing.
That is America.
Yeah,
like that's where, and to ignore it is you're not. I mean, what, are we just making stuff up now? Like,
right? Yeah, exactly. Let's just make up our own history. Well, yeah.
And it's part of it.
Yeah,
it's part of it, and no one wants to say it. Like, you're not allowed to like say it or something. It's like, I mean, this music comes from slaves. It came from all these people. It's like what? How are you not going to talk about? Like, what are you guys talking about? What? Yeah. And it's not that they don't. They talk about it. It's just to have it. I feel like you really have to have the full. I mean, I don't have a full understanding. I'm trying to.
I don't either.
But like, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. And and I never will because I'm a white American, and I come from a very different background. I can't, it's not. I need to do whatever I can to be able to appreciate and understand as much as I can the roots of this music that I'm playing. But I can't talk about it on a personal level because, I mean,
you could talk about it for
you. I can talk about, and I mean, it's not like I have, so, when I have experienced some stuff, when the kids in my junior high school found out I was Jewish and I was the only Jewish kid in a very, white, small farming community, very very red state. And when they found out I was Jewish, I had swastikas on my locker and
wow.
little notes slipped in my locker and in my books. It was like died Jew, die Kike, we didn't finish the job in Auschwitz,
Jesus,
crap like that. So and but still, the kind of systemic racism that we're talking about that's been going on for 400 years in this country against African Americans, I can't talk about that. I can't address that because that's not my experience. But that is, it's a direct result from that's given birth to
one of the greatest,
incredible, that really is America's only true art form.
It really is.
It's the only art form that the United States of America can claim was created on its soil.
And the way it's created you know, it's pretty dark, some of it, and it's like, but what comes out of that is like just some of the most beautiful shit ever. That's like, it's amazing. Like once you go down it and you realize like where this comes from, it's like, it's uniquely American.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's like, to not recognize that and to not talk about that stuff is, you're not doing it justice. You're not fully understanding it or giving, you know, credit or blame or whatever you want to call it. Like, you know, I think that's a real thing, you know.
It is a real thing.
And it's like, I think thankfully it seems like more and more people kind of see that, because like we're saying, you know, a lot of that stuff's more tangible than it's ever been. You can find historically where this, you can go search it, you can find video. I mean, it's insane. Like to like be able to really, like, I was just watching a interview like we're doing right now with Ron Carter, and Ron Carter's just sitting there talking about some stuff. It's amazing. It's like to be able to sit there and just like, I don't know, it's crazy, man. Modern era is nuts. But yeah, I love the way we're kind of talking about it. I've thought really hard about that stuff. I'll send you that paper. You're gonna love it.
Please do. Yeah.
I don't think I got it all 100% right, but it was like, I was like, man, if I'm gonna write about something, at least it's got to be about something like that. I'm not gonna go crazy, right? Like,
yeah.
Anyway, so, but I think that's an important thing to address. I feel like you kind of have to. It's like your duty, if you're gonna play that music, to recognize that stuff. If not, it's like, what?
I agree. I
mean, what are we doing? Like,
yep. and respect the circumstances and the tragedy that gave birth. You know, and you know, on a smaller micro, you know, kind of a micro level, you know, it's been my own personal experience that every time I've had to go through some kind of personal tragedy,
mm-hmm.
it's always led to a period of growth,
right?
You know, either spiritual growth, mental growth, or you know, or creatively, some kind of growth, and you know, I think that's really what we're talking about here. We're talking about, you know, one of the greatest tragedies in the history of humankind, you know, and how, but coming out of that, how it's given birth to this amazingly beautiful art form. Yeah. You know, that can be embraced by everyone.
It's worldwide now,
yeah. Because, you know, everybody can relate at least on some level to, and, you know, especially this I love, you know, one of the things that I love about jazz is I think it was, you know, and this is just like such a basic idea, but I think it was discussed by, or the first time that I saw it put this way was Wynton Marsalis talking about it on the Ken Burns documentary on jazz.
Oh, okay.
Where he talks about it, you know, it's basically it's spontaneous composition.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
The best solos sound like that. They don't sound like
a
bunch of licks linked together.
Right.
It's a story. It's a composition, and you know. And that's what it is. It's spontaneous, and it also can't, you know, and it's got to be done within this framework where it's a conversation. That's the other thing I love about how whenever Wynton's talking about jazz and talking about, he, like for instance, he was demonstrating something, about, you know, the different plunger techniques or the different muting techniques for trumpet players from like the 1920s, right? And whenever he says. And, you know, normally, you know, a musician would say, yeah, and he plays it like this, or he plays this. Wynton doesn't do that. The word he uses over and over again is, Roy Eldridge saying this.
I was going to say, he
says it like this, you know, and when he talks about like a group of musicians playing jazz, he's talking about it being a conversation,
right?
You know, and, you know, the most important part of a conversation is not necessarily what you're saying. It's listening to what the other person is saying, so that you can absorb that and you know, contribute to that conversation.
Right.
You know, and not be all caught up in your head. Instead of listening to what you're saying, instead of listening to that, I'm thinking about, oh, how am I going to respond?
And this
how am I going to word this so I sound like the most profound individual on the face of the planet?
It's true.
You know,
you got to be mindful.
Yes.
It goes back. Oh, I'm about to go to Mike's camp, people. All right, if you liked the video, please go ahead and subscribe and hit the like button. A lot of my viewers are not subscribed to the channel, so I always always get people asking me what's the best way to support Electric Louie Land. And to be honest, the best way is to go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. So do that and share a video and tell your friends. So thank you guys for watching.